Alright, so I finally sent in my DNA to be analyzed on my heritage. Here is what they found. I wasn't surprised to find all the African descent, of course. I mean, people look at me and they're like, bitch, you're blacker than Wesley Snipes. What the hell did you think you were going to find? Now, of course, I knew I had a lot of black heritage from Africa, but let me tell you, I thought I was going to be a lot more African than that. If you put all the numbers together, I'm actually something like 41% African. And I thought, as dark skinned as I am, I would have expected to be more African than that. It turns out, if you look at my European descent, I'm 15.8% Balkan, which is part of Italy and part of these countries here in Europe. Greek and South Italian. Scandinavian, I would have never thought I was Scandinavian. Not in a million years, but I am 4.3% Scandinavian. If you put all these numbers together, I'm about 48%, almost half my heritage, European. And that's wild to me that I'm only 40% African and 48% European. My mom has always talked about how my grandpa came from Poland, and I always knew that she talked about my grandma being half black and half Italian, but I was truly surprised with how many other ethnicities that included. So I'm only about 40% African and I'm 48% European. This I also knew because of my father, that I was indigenous. I am about, according to this, 9% indigenous Brazilian, and indigenous from Central America. This blew my mind. The native peoples of America, in Canada, in North America, I'm actually 1% that. Chinese and Vietnamese, 0.9%. That was incredibly wild. I was really curious as to how much we could trust my heritage. I was thinking, is this fat income? Is this really something that I said fat income, just like when I used to live in Australia. Anyway, is this something that can be trusted? So I sent my daughters, I'm going to put on now my daughter's results. I sent in my daughter's results. I sent her DNA first, under a fake name, under a male name. I used a different type of payment. And then later on, I sent mine under a separate account. I wanted to see if they were going to match us up as mother and daughter. I had actually sent in my daughters first. And it blew my mind when I saw my daughter's results. Because I was like, Italian. She's 17.2% Italian. I wasn't surprised by the Scandinavian because my husband is Norwegian. So I wasn't surprised that she's 27.3% Scandinavian. But all of this here, Italian is from my side, it turns out. English is obviously from his side. Western European could be from both of our sides because I also have some of my heritage there as well. And then she came up, when I looked at her her heritage in terms of African. She is actually, let me see, she's close to 20% African, which is really, it goes with my ethnicity being 40% African, and she's 20% African. I am about 9% indigenous. She also came out. She came out 9% indigenous, and also Asian. I had some Asian descent, and so does she. Now here is where it gets. Here is where I tested my heritage. When he goes to where you find your DNA, did they find my DNA? Did they match up our DNA? And they actually did. Of course, I used the name Brooke Wilson. I didn't use my own name. And it says mother, daughter. So they actually, even though I used different types of payment, I used 2 separate accounts. I sent them from different cities. I didn't send them both from the same post office. I didn't send them with my own name and her own name, and they still were able to matches. So go ahead and trust. You can trust my heritage. Now I'm going to show you her little video that they made with her ethnic background, which is really cool. It has a cool introduction. It's under Jason because I put a male name, a fake name under her ethnicity because I didn't want them to know that we were related. This was really cool. The numbers were very consistent with having half my DNA, and I was impressed with this. Impressed with the fact that they're legit. I don't know, in this day and age it's hard to trust and believe anything that you buy online, but this is a legit site. So I know that white folks over there are not going to believe, or some racist people out there are not going to like it, that somebody as dark skinned as me. I'm very dark skinned, and I am, as you can see, 41, close to 40 something percent African, but I'm actually 48% European. I don't want to keep telling people that, because when you look at me, I am black. I look more black and indigenous than anything. And I'm never going to use this to say, hey, I'm half white. I don't like black boys or whatever. Of course I'm black, and I honor that before anything else. But miscegenation is a thing. And in Brazil, that's where it is at its, I don't know, there's a lot of miscegenation in Brazil, and I'm definitely a product of that. Look at all the things that I am. I'm African, European, I'm also indigenous. This Asian descent really, really surprised me. I didn't know. But anyway, let's look at my video that they made. I used my real name for the video. So you can never really determine somebody's ethnicity just by looking at them. You simply can't. That's the lesson to be learned from this. I'm going to put up a picture of me on here. There I am. So I am very dark skinned. Very. I'm blacker than Wesley Snipes. I am proud of it, and I'm not going to start randomly telling people, hey, I am 48% European. I have no intention of doing that. But it just comes to show there is a lot of miscegenation, and you never know what a person's ethnicity is just by looking at them. I know here in Norway, people probably look at me and they go, oh, she's African. She's 100% African. And they will probably try to find a country in Africa where I came from, when I'm actually from Brazil, and I have a lot of different ethnicities in me. Nigerian, Balkan, Italian, Kenyan, and 8 more. Especially, what really blew my mind was the percentage. I thought I was going to be more African than European, and it turns out I'm actually more European than African. So that comes to show I am, nothing is what it seems. You can look at someone who's dark skinned, black, and you will not know what their ethnicity is until we break down their DNA. And that's all I have to say.